Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome to the channel. So today we're talking about 23 books that I've either been pushing off reading or have been too nervous to read or something else. You know, it could be a million different reasons to be honest. But ones that I finally feel ready to read in 2023. I'm gonna leave links to all of them in the description box if you want to check them out, by the way. But we're gonna go through them, talk a little bit about what they're about. Hopefully I will do good, because usually summarizing books that you've not read is not easy. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna do my best. So let's get started, shall we? Because we got 23 books to talk about, and we're gonna be here for a while. First book that I want to talk about is Kingdom of the Feared, the third book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy by Carrie Maniscalco. In this trilogy, we follow Emilia, who is a witch. She also has a twin called Vittoria, and the two of them used to be very close until recently. Vittoria has kind of been a little bit secretive about something, and then one day, Emilia actually finds her dead. Emilia is distraught because of this, and all she really wants to do is figure out what happened to her sister. And so she summons one of the 7 princes of hell, specifically Wrath, to help her solve this mystery of who killed her sister. The two of them are not like super friendly with each other. They're a bit of reluctant allies, if you will, but it's fun following them, figuring out everything, and also seeing them get a little bit closer to each other and stuff. And I've not read this yet because I've been a little bit scared of maybe I'm gonna be disappointed, but I'm ready now. Then we got The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the 4th one in the From Blood and Ash series. I don't know how many, 6 books maybe? In the series, we follow Poppy, who is the maiden. So the maiden is a very important role to have in this kingdom that she lives in. It's not really specified why, but like there's something mysterious going on with the maiden. But for Poppy, this means that she's not allowed to make friends, she's not allowed to talk to strangers, she's not allowed various things. She kind of just has like her schedule for the day and she has to stick to it, otherwise she's gonna end in trouble. So Poppy though has different ideas and also has a little bit of like a rebellious side to her. She likes to sneak out at night, and one night she ends up doing just that. So she ends up at a bar, and at this bar she meets Hawk. The two of them have a connection right away. Something happens, and Poppy starts to think that maybe this whole maiden situation is not actually for her. She starts to question a lot of things about it, and then Hawk also happens to infiltrate the castle where she lives and ends up being her bodyguard, and it's a whole lot of trouble. But there's much more to the series than that, and I've just been pushing off this one, which if you've read the 3rd one, the ending, you might be wondering how I can just sit on that ending and be fine. I'm not fine. But I'm also nervous about the 4th one, so here we are. I'm ready to read it now though. Just saying. Then we have the sequel to The Jasmine Throne, The Oleander Sword by Tasha Sori. I love the first one. I just have not had the time to pick this up, to be honest. It's a bit of a slower read to me, so I just need to have the time. I just need to be able to find the time. But in this book, or at least the first one, we follow a priestess and also a princess. So the princess has been imprisoned in a temple by her brother, who is currently leading the country, essentially. He's a sucky brother, by the way, like worst brother of the year, most definitely. I'm not gonna specify why, but he sucks. But she's been sent to this temple to basically change her mind about something. And while she's there, she oversees or catches one of the priestesses doing something that she shouldn't be able to do, because our priestess, that we also follow, has some secrets. And so she ends up being the princess's maid, her like closest maid, the one that's always there basically. This is causing a lot of tension between the two, but also they're growing very close. And eventually they also start talking about how to break out of the temple. This is a very feminist, or at least the first one is very feminist, very like women can be leaders too. Also a sapphic romance in there, so I'm excited to see where the sequel goes because I really enjoyed the first one. The 4th book is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I have had the trilogy since sometime either at the start of the year or sometime last year. can't remember. The whole trilogy, because I bought them right away. I'm gonna read out loud the first bit because that really sums it up. In a land where 3 suns almost never set, a fledgling killer joins a school of assassins seeking vengeance against the powers that destroyed her family. I'm expecting badass female vibes from this, like badassery. Mia has to be a badass. That's all I want to see. That's all I need to experience. And I think I'm right about it, so hopefully I love this one since I have the other two, but been a little bit nervous to pick it up. I'm not gonna lie. Think I like it though. Think I like the vibe. I also want to read She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, which I still think is a bit of a Mulan, at least a Mulan inspired story, because that's what it gives a little bit. We follow a woman who, with her brother, actually has had their future foreseen by a seer, and the seer said that she saw greatness for the boy in the future, but for the daughter, for the girl, she saw nothingness, which also equals to death. And so it's surprising to our lead girl when the town, the village that they live in is attacked by outsiders, and her brother ends up dying. And so she's sent off to or she's not sent off because she's not supposed to be in the army. She takes off to the army dressed as a male. There she learns to be ruthless and fend for herself, and just like she grows very strong while she's there. And so in one way or another, her goal becomes to claim her brother's future that the seer saw. That was such a weird sentence. But anyway, this cover is stunning, by the way. I love it. So I'm excited to read it because I love like female badassery, okay? I just love it. It's my one weakness. Then we have one that I've kind of been putting off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't really know why I've done that, but I have. It's Defend the Dawn by Bridget Kemmerer. I think it's because I love the first one so much and I'm nervous that it's not gonna live up to it. But in Defy the Night, we follow 2 people. They're both rebels. So they live in a kingdom where there's like a sickness spreading throughout it. People are dying or just falling ill for a long time, and the only thing that can kind of keep the sickness at bay is a specific flower. Unfortunately, the rich people in this kingdom tend to hoard the flower to themselves in obscene amounts as well. Like, they don't need as much as they're taking. So the 2 rebels that we follow actually steal from the rich people, or like a stock they have or something, and pass it out to the poorer people to help them. But then one day something happens to one of the rebels, and our lead girl ends up basically deciding to infiltrate the castle, and like all of a sudden she's just like, I'm going to the castle, and she manages. And what she learns while she's at the castle, so where the royals are staying and where everything is decided and stuff, shocks her to her core. And a lot of politics in this, a lot of twists and turns, very fast paced. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. I'm also finally gonna be reading Circe by Madeline Miller, which is just a Greek mythology retelling where we follow Circe, who is the first witch. She is hated by the gods, the Greek gods, and is sent off to an island where she starts to bond with people like humans, learns a lot about herself, and I have heard people both saying that this is better than the Song of Achilles, but I've also heard people saying that they were kind of disappointed by this one, which is why I'm nervous going into it. But I think as well that this has feminist vibes, which is something that I'm gonna like. At least that's what I've gathered from it, but I'm not entirely sure. But I love the idea of Circe as a character as well, so I am excited, just a little bit nervous because I really love the Song of Achilles. I thought it was, yes, chef's kiss. And then I'm gonna I don't think I can summarize this. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to. But I'm gonna read Shatter Me by Tehere Mafi, which all I know about this is that we follow a girl who is in confinement because she can kill people with her touch. And also she has like, I don't want to call it a roommate, but a cellmate or something, whose name is Aaron, but it might also not be him. See, are you confused with me? Yeah, same. Very much. But the thing about this that I thought is really cool is that there's a lot of like this, so like scratching out things that have been said or written, which I think is going to be very interesting. And a lot of people seem to love this, so very like YA, but looking forward to it. I want to be in on all the, what's her name? I forgot. Juliet. Oh, it is Juliet. I want to be in on the Juliet and Aaron shipping, so yes. Also, this edition has deckled edges. Is that normal? Is it normal, or I don't know. I don't mind it, but kind of surprised me a little bit. I will also be reading The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, which is the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart. I thought Once Upon a Broken Heart was so good. I really liked the vibes in it, but I also really enjoyed the Caravel trilogy. I think this might actually get a little bit better than the Caravel trilogy, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel that's where we're heading. I've also heard a lot of people say that this is so good, which is why I haven't picked it up yet. I know that sounds weird, but it's a thing with me. But in the first book, we follow Evangeline Fox, who is more or less obsessed with this guy. She's in love with him. Unfortunately, he's marrying her sister, and so Evangeline is heartbroken. As a result of this, she decides to contact one of the Fates, who is basically like, I almost want to call them gods, but they're these very powerful beings who each have their own abilities. The one that she contacts is the Prince of Hearts, who is like, he has to do with love. I don't know how else to phrase it. He has to do with love. His name is Jax. Jax is very unpredictable. And Evangeline should know this before going into the agreement that she settles on with him. So they enter this deal. He's gonna make sure to put a stop to this wedding in exchange for 3 kisses. Not necessarily kisses for him, but just kisses that he's bound to like cash in whenever he's ready. And Evangeline is like, yeah, sure, that doesn't sound like a lot. Let's just go for it. So she says yes. Unfortunately, she should have known that you can't really trust Jax. Like, I would not trust him with anything. I love him, but I wouldn't trust him with anything, and things don't really go to plan. And that is Once Upon a Broken Heart. A lot more going on with it than that. Like, she ends up at a ball and stuff, and yes, a lot more going on. There's even vampires in it. Like, where do they come from? Are they gonna appear in this one too? Like, I don't know. But excited. So also heard that the cliffhanger is a little bit mean, so that's a thing. Then we have, it took me such a long time to read the first one, and now I'm just continuously pushing the sequel. The Wicked King by Holly Black, which is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, and I keep pushing it. I actually ended up really loving The Cruel Prince, so it's dumb that I've not read this yet. I should have just read them right after each other and gotten it over with, but I didn't. But in The Cruel Prince, we follow Jude, who is a human living in the fairy world. She's ended up there because her big sister is half fae, half human, and her father, the fae, ended up coming back to where they live to basically claim her as his and then take her to fairy, but also ended up taking Jude and her twin sister. So they're all living in fairy now, and it's not easy for humans to live there. Like, the fae don't treat us well. And so Jude gets bullied a lot, especially by this specific group that is led by a guy called Carden, who is the youngest prince of the High King, and he sucks. But he's also kind of a consistent in her life as well, so you know. And at the same time, Jude is also being dragged into this like court business. She's supposed to figure out secrets and stuff, and there's a lot of that going on, like court intrigue in this book, which really surprised me. It's so much more than a bully romance, which positive surprise to me, because honestly, bully romances are not really for me. As someone who was bullied, I don't get them, but it works in The Cruel Prince for some reason. Like, I don't mind it. So, just haven't read the sequel yet, but I really want to, especially because The Stolen Heir is coming out, and I'm really hyped for it, even though I haven't finished the trilogy. It's a whole thing, okay? I also want to read Refree the Stars by Hafsa Faisal, because I loved We Hunt the Flame, which only tells me that I'm gonna love this even more, because that's usually the reaction to these 2 books. So in the first one, we follow, oh gosh, what are their names? Saphira and Nasir. So Saphira is a huntress. She hunts for her village because they are struggling with food. And there's this like sand storm-ish going on in the middle of the country. It's very dangerous for people to be there, but for some reason Saphira just knows how to go through the storm without anything happening. Like, she just has an ability of some kind. She just knows her stuff. So she hunts for her village. On the other side, we have Nasir, whose name is also the Prince of Death. He is sent out essentially as a mercenary by the Sultan, so he's like basically known as a killer. And so when Saphira is approached by someone to go to, she's sent on a mission of some kind to go to the middle of the storm to get a book that can free magic and save the land. Nasir is also sent, but not to help her, to kill her instead. And so yeah, no, that's We Hunt the Flame, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. My favorite character is still Altair, not Nasir or Saphira. No, it's definitely Altair. So if you've read the first one, don't let me down. I'm not saying anything. Then we got two mysteries. First off, we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. There's a lot of sequels in this video. I see a pattern. Anyway, in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, we follow Pippa, who is a student who's doing like a summer project on an old case that, like a murder that happened in this town that she lives in. So 5 years ago, a girl was murdered by someone who was later found dead in the woods, dead by suicide. Pippa is convinced that he didn't kill himself. She's also convinced that he didn't kill this girl. Her name is Andy. And so she decides to take it upon herself to solve the mystery of what actually happened 5 years ago and do a school project on it. But the more she digs into this case and the more that she finds out, the more she's also contacted by people that she doesn't really like, anonymous people. You know, getting like stuff broken and mysterious letters and warnings and stuff. And things are getting weird. I really love the first one. The third one looks so thick. I'm very nervous, but if this has anything, this like the same kind of vibe. Oh, it does. It has the locks. I'm so happy. I'm gonna read this so soon. I'm excited. But then I also have The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson, which is also a sequel. This one is the sequel to Truly Devious. In Truly Devious, we follow Stevie, who is like a true crime genius. Like, she really knows her stuff. She ends up going to the Ellington Academy, which is a school for children or young people that are very good at like very specific things, such as true crime. But there's also a girl who makes robots, there's a guy who makes YouTube videos, and there's another guy who writes books. So like they all have different talents. Ellington Academy does have a mystery behind it though, because the founder's wife and daughter went missing years and years and years ago, and he himself was shortly after also found dead. So of course Stevie is like, while I'm here, I want to solve this mystery. What can go wrong? And stuff starts to go wrong when she starts to dig into it. So that's what it's about. Another school mystery. Well, this is school mystery. That's not a school mystery. I really enjoy the first one and that one as well. So I actually have the rest of the ones that have been released. I also have 9 Liars on its way to me right now. I should read them. Definitely should. I also want to read Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is technically a sequel, but more so a companion novel to It Happened One Summer. It's hard to explain what this is about other than we follow 2 characters that were in It Happened One Summer. The lead girl from that book's sister, whose name is Hannah, and also the lead guy's friend, whose name is Fox. So Hannah is a very like friendly, outgoing kind of girl, and Fox is very much a ladies' man. He like you know the kind of guy, especially from books. You've probably come across him before if you read adult contemporary romances, but just a ladies' man. And Hannah has friend-zoned him big time, which for some reason bothers him so much. Not because he just wants to, you know, get in and get out, but because for once he actually kind of likes this girl. And so there might be some forced proximity in this one as far as I'm aware, but I'm so excited because I really like their chemistry and It Happened One Summer. I'm hoping it won't let me down, but we'll see. I also want to read Flock, which is the first book in the Ravenhood trilogy, and these are by Kate Stewart. In this book, we follow a girl who has moved to a small town where her dad lives. Basically, the deal was, if you move here, I will pay your tuition to school and also give you money to help your single mom. So she ends up moving to this town, she gets a job. At this job, she meets some new friends, starts to grow feelings for 2 guys there actually, and that's a whole thing. I think a lot of this is a little bit dark, but not without being actual dark contemporary romance, but I think some of it is a little bit depressing, I'm not gonna lie. That's the vibe I get from this, but I'm excited for it because, you know, I like to be sad when I read. Is that weird? No, right? And then I also, because I really want the sequels as well, which I know is this weird reason to read a book, but I really want to get to the sequels. I want to read Jade City by Fonda Lee, which all I know about this is that we follow some families, very powerful families. I think they're crime families. I'm not entirely sure about it. And in this fantasy city that they live in, jade is a very, very valuable element or thing. What is the correct word for that? Jade is very, very valuable. It has some properties to it that are very advantageous. So Jade City, people will go to war for this. Family is duty, magic is power, honor is everything. Also I've only just read this prompt, by the way, because I've heard lovely things about this, which is why I have it, but prompt? Blurb. I meant blurb. Anyway. An epic drama reminiscent of the best classic Hong Kong gangster films, but taking place in a fantasy metropolis so gritty and well imagined that you'll forget you're reading a book, which I'm looking forward to so much. Please, anything that can make me forget that I'm reading is amazing. Not that that sounded like I hated reading, but you know what I mean. I'm also finally gonna be reading Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, mainly because I want to get to the last hours, to be honest. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Just putting that out there. But I don't fully know what this is about, to be honest, other than, like, it's shadow hunters, so it's all kind of like a little bit of the same, like these warriors fighting whatever evil is going on in the world, supernatural creatures, breaking rules. They probably have to find some kind of dark artifices, you know, possibly includes a sword of some kind, and there's a romance and things go bad and people die. Did I sum it up right? If you've read this book, let me know if I did a good job. But I don't really want to know the specifics of this. I know that the Mortal Instruments takes place in like the Ciros in New York. The Infernal Devices take place in 1870s London, and this takes place in 2010's Los Angeles. I love the Shadow Hunters, so I'll love this probably as well. Very thick one too. It's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, it's a lot, but it's happening finally, so. Which, to be honest, I've had Lady Midnight since 2016, so it's about time. It's been more than half a decade. Really been sitting on that for a long time, huh? I'm also finally ready to read Red Rising by Piers Brown, but this is one of those that I don't really want to know what it's about before I go into it. It's kind of a dangerous kind of approach to books sometimes, but I have faith in this one, mainly because some people said that it's reminiscent of The Hunger Games, and I loved The Hunger Games, like, yes. So I'm okay with not knowing. I don't want to know, and I'm gonna go into it blind at some point. But I'm ready finally. So for those of you who keep mentioning it, it's happening. I don't actually know what this is about fully either, but I love the way that this is built up or written. It's Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I've had these since Christmas last year, and again, don't really know what it's about other than the world is in danger. But this is written in the funniest way. Like, we're talking files and pictures and computer files and classified files and like text messages and stuff, and I'm just so excited to see where it goes. I'm kind of a little bit scared that it's gonna get annoying to read, but at the same time I don't think it is, because I've heard people say that it's not. So I have faith in other people and their opinions on that. I've also heard that from some people that said that they thought it was gonna be super gimmicky. It turned out to be very organic, like, you know, it just works, it's very flowy. But it's a brave decision to write it like this. So I'm very intrigued. I really want to know now, and it's happening in 2023. But can I tell you what it's about so far? No, I cannot. Most definitely cannot. Other than I think the world is in danger, right? That's usually how it goes. So we got 4 more books, unless I miscounted and I've gotten 24 or 22 total, and that would be kind of a little bit embarrassing. But next up, I have Scarlet by Marissa Mayer, because I finally read Cinder in November, and I've been wanting to pick this up since I finished that book. So this is another one of those, the world is in danger, but in Cinder we follow our girl Cinder, who is a cyborg, or no, android? No, cyborg. That's the right word. She's a cyborg, which means that she has like mechanical parts, so she's not fully human. This also means that she doesn't have the same rights as humans do in the world that she lives in. She works as a mechanic, and she's like a super good mechanic. So one day she's approached by the Crown Prince with a task. She has to fix one of his androids because there's some information on the android that he really needs access to. She also finds out that the prince is actually super charming and very, very nice. Just want to add that. And as she is fixing this android for him, she is also slowly drawn into stuff that is happening behind the scenes, like politics, stuff going wrong. There's aliens coming to Earth that are threatening us and that are very, very dangerous, and a whole lot of things. I'm very excited to see how the other girls are gonna get like brought into this because the first book is only written from Cinder's point of view. Whereas this, I'm trying to find if I can see Cinder spun. So it's both from both of their points of views. She was cyborg. Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how that's gonna work because each book in this series is named after a girl. So we have Scarlet, next up we have Cress, and then we have Winter. I know who Cress is and I know who Winter is. I have no idea who Scarlet is, but I'll figure it out. Oh, and these are all retellings of different fairy tales. So Cinder is a retelling of Cinderella. Scarlet is the Little Red Riding Hood. There we go. Then we have Rapunzel, that's Cress, and Winter I think is Snow White, possibly, but I'm not entirely set on that one. I think it's her though. And then finally, actually starting this month with a read-along on Patreon. So if you want to check out the book club where we're gonna do a read-along of this, there's a link to it in the top of the pinned comment, but we're reading Gild, which is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. And this is like one of my most anticipated series because people have been comparing it to A Court of Thorns and Roses, but maybe a little bit like slightly darker at times. So I'm like super excited for this. Very, very excited because if anything can give me the same feels as Equitar did, I'm gonna be so on board. It's ridiculous. This is a retelling of King Midas. So we follow a girl who has been picked up by King Midas from the streets. She's had nothing, but then she's taken in by King Midas, given food, given shelter, and then she's just sold off as a part of like a war deal to some guy. So she's taken out of her element completely. She's stuck in a cage, she's imprisoned, and like not by him, but by King Midas. There's a Stockholm Syndrome thing going on in this one, I'm pretty sure. And I think it's about her kind of getting out of this Stockholm Syndrome situation. Like, yeah, that's as far as I've gathered at least. I'm so excited for this. Like, I am gonna do my best to follow the dates that I've put down on Patreon, but I'm not gonna binge it, but I'm so excited. People are firing off fireworks today. Let's just ignore it. Anyway, why do people start so early? I don't get it. I'm also gonna be reading Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, which is about two arch enemies who end up at NASA doing sciencey stuff. And our girl is very attracted to our lead guy, but he's put it very clear, like he set his boundaries. He's very much not interested, but then slowly it feels like he's kind of warming up to, like he's kind of getting closer and closer to her and being less and less mean to her and stuff. And that's all I know. Anyway, that's all I want to know. Arch enemies, if it has anything like, any vibe like the Love Hypothesis had, I'm all for it, so we'll see how it goes. Yes, I love that book, so I'm very excited. And the last book that I have on my list of books that I really want to read in 2023. I got The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which is about our lead girl who, against all odds, as an underdog, is taken into this academy. What do they call it? The most elite military school in Nikan. Yes. And while she's at this military school, she learns that she has powers that are nearly mythical. Like, she's definitely not supposed to have these powers. So she starts to train them with a trainer there or a teacher, and also learns that because there's a lot of prejudice aimed at her because she's a darker skinned girl from the south in a country where they like people to be a little bit lighter skinned. She learns that with these powers she can also it's easier to defend herself as well. But in the background too, there might be a war breaking out as well. So I'm expecting bloody vibes from this. I'm expecting not necessarily gore, but less of a filter, if you get what I mean. I'm expecting not necessarily like on purpose gritty, but things just to be said the way that they are. Yeah, I hope that makes sense, but we'll see. I'm also expecting super female badassery and powerful powers. I think this will deliver that. So anyway, those are my books. Was that 23? It was. Okay, if you read any of these books, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to check them out, check out the links in the description box. If you want to check out the book club, there's a link to it in the pinned comment. But that is all I got for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also videos like readathons and TBR videos, wrap-ups, bookish unboxings, and all the other booktube stuff, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button as well. But I'm gonna leave you to it. So I'm gonna go put these books back in their spots. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.